Good afternoon, families. Buenas tardes. Good afternoon, families. Thank you for joining us and Happy New Year. Muy buenas tardes, familias. Muchas gracias por conectar con nosotros. Vamos a empezar. Muchas gracias por el conectar y muy feliz año 2022. Vamos a comenzar. So you're in the right place. Tonight we're having our MacArthur Park Community Schools Town Hall. Hoy vamos a tener la presentación de la comunidad de escuelas de MacArthur Park, and we are ready to begin.
Once again, thank you for joining us. During today's session, I'd like to inform you that we will be presenting in English. We also have simultaneous translation in Spanish. To listen to this presentation in English or in Spanish, please click on the globe icon at the bottom of the screen. You will select the language of preference for you. You will engage and listen to the presentation in the language you select. Una vez más, muchas gracias por conectar hoy con nosotros. Quería informarles que durante nuestra sesión tendremos interpretación simultánea en español. Esta sesión se presentará en inglés. Usted puede escoger el lenguaje de su preferencia. Haga clic en el símbolo del mundo en la parte inferior de su pantalla. Seleccione el idioma que le gustaría escuchar. Participará y escuchará la presentación en el idioma que seleccione. Next. For today's presentation, we will all be participating in the Zoom webinar session. During the presentation, you can ask questions of our panelists. We will also have a short Q&A as time permits at the end of the session. If you look at the bottom of your screen, there is a Q&A icon. You can pose your questions there and then wait for an answer. Again, we will also be responding to some of the questions as time permits at the end of the session.
And now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our local district superintendent, Mrs. Frances Baez. Ms. Baez, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Ms. Regina. It's such a pleasure to be with everybody. Good evening, MacArthur Park Community of Schools. It's a pleasure to be with you today. My name is Frances Baez, Superintendent in Local District Central, the home of the champions, serving 160 schools and supporting the achievement of this community of schools. I hope you all had a peaceful and joyful holiday break, and happy 2022 to you. Local District Central is honored to open its school doors to students and school staff. It has been a pleasure to see students learning in their classrooms, and this is where students thrive. And I want to thank all of our parents and community and school personnel who did the right thing of getting that baseline COVID test to ensure that our schools are safe and that we opened our doors. We're very proud and happy to see our students learning and thriving in the classroom. And we're seeing so much connection and so many relationships continue with our school community. Today, we have the great fortune to learn about financial aid for college, safe steps to safe schools, instructional updates, mental health support, and much, much more. These sessions will continue to make sure that you are up to date and that learning continues despite the circumstances that we lead in. I thank Dr. Charles Smith, who dedicates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to this community of schools and is always advocating and voicing the priorities for this community of schools. I just want you to know that many of us are out on campuses. We're helping and supporting our schools. And even though we're out there, Dr. Smith led this team to continue with our town halls to make sure that our families, our communities are informed about everything that they need to know to continue learning. And so now it is my great pleasure to introduce Honorable Board Member Monica Garcia, representing Board District 2, who fights tirelessly to ensure that students in her board district are represented and that we all reach 100% graduation with her leadership. Thank you, Board Member Monica Garcia, for being with us today. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Superintendent Baez. Thank you, Dr. Smith, and thank all of you for being with us this afternoon. Superintendent Baez said it well. We invite you all to join our movement for 100% graduation with our children prepared to know their best self. And yes, the last couple of years have challenged us to make sure we absolutely are willing to do what it takes to open schools in LA, and I am grateful to every single employee, every community member, and indeed every family that has supported their child through this extremely challenging time. I want you to know that all of us at LA Unified recognize that we have to learn together. So things may not be perfect. It may be challenging to get your daily pass, but I have to tell you, as I've gone through schools, kids are grateful to be in school, and they are happy to be learning with their friends. I want you to know just three things quickly. One, COVID isn't going anywhere until we all participate in eradicating it. So that means vaccines, that means testing, and that means struggling through together. And LA Unified is committed to helping our schools stay safe. Number two, in this public health challenge, we need to focus on learning. And learning does happen every single day. Our children are learning that they are strong and courageous, and yes, their dreams matter. Three, I want to tell you that yes, I have a new superintendent of LA Unified, Alberto Carvalho, and I expect he will join us sometime next month. And I just want you to know that if you have an issue, a question, something that you want to discuss, we do have people in place to support you. So thank you, Superintendent. Thank you, Dr. Smith, here to support you always. Gracias.
Thank you so much. And you said it so well, Board Member Garcia, that our students are just stepping up to the challenge that we experience. I see them coming up with their daily pass. I see them doing all that is required for them to be in classroom learning. And I stepped into classrooms to speak to students the first day of school, and they just thanked us. They thanked us because we were open. They thanked us because they felt safe, and they thanked us because they could be in classrooms. So thank you very much for that. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Smith. Dr. Smith, thank you for all that you do for this MacArthur Park community of schools. I hope you have a successful town hall. Thank you for preparing a very, very rich town hall for our communities.
Thank you, Superintendent Baez. Thank you, Board Member Monica Garcia. I really appreciate it. Our community appreciates it. The MacArthur Park community appreciates it. We appreciate your advocacy and your hard work as well. So thank you for being with us this evening. Good evening to all of our guests. I would like to welcome all of our students, our parents, our faculty, and community members tonight. Thank you for joining us. I am Charles D. Smith, the MacArthur Park Communities of School Administrator, and I would like to first wish all of you a happy new year. I know this is our first time together in this new year in this space, so I hope your new year is off to an amazing start. Last week, our schools opened the doors and welcomed and greeted our students, our families, our staff for another spring semester. However, this year's opening was different from spring's opening in the past, before the pandemic. This year, our students, families, teachers, and administrators worked and are working to help keep all of our schools safe from the COVID-19 virus. Before our vacation in December, 100% of all of our campus staff were vaccinated. 90% of our eligible students in MacArthur Park were vaccinated, and LAUSD, LA Unified, began offering vaccinations to those students 5 years or older, old and older. These steps have helped keep schools open, where students are at the best place in the classroom so that they can learn and be with their peers and socialize. Was this a simple process? Of course not. It was complex with bumps and turns. However, due to the hard work of our principals, our school teams, our teachers, our students, our families, staff members, we are learning collaboratively and working through the complexities. And I'm extremely appreciative. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I know it was some different days last week, and we continue to work together to make it better. Everyone has been stretched and are being flexible because we know this too shall pass. Let's continue working together to keep our schools open and our community safe. I know you may have a few unanswered questions. Tonight, we will share some important information and provide answers to the questions you may have. I ask that you utilize the question and answer feature so we may respond directly to your questions that you may have, as well as we share information with our families. Again, I thank you for joining us, and I hope you find the information shared tonight informative and useful. Next slide. Tonight's agenda includes 5 essential areas. First, we will take a moment to welcome 2 new team members to the MacArthur Park community. Then we will share some information about our high school students and families regarding free money for college as FAFSA deadline is approaching in March. Third, we will review protocols and processes related to safe steps to safe schools. We will then share some information regarding the MacArthur Park Innovation Grants. And lastly, we will share some important information to help you and some upcoming events and respond to your unanswered questions. Next slide. Now, let's begin our evening with introductions of the MacArthur Park's newest principal, who was chosen to serve the students, family, faculty, and staff at the academic leadership community at Miguel Contreras. Please welcome Ms. Fanny Virgin Gonzalez. Ms. Gonzalez, the floor is yours. Please welcome. We're going to try that one more time. Ms. Fanny, mute.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am beyond excited to become part of the MacArthur Park community of schools. And I am super excited to be the new principal at the academic leadership community located on the Contreras campus. I do come with a lot of experience with out of the classroom experience. I was an assistant principal. I myself was an LAUSD student. So whenever I see the students on our campus, I see myself in them. I am beyond excited to be working with an amazing group of teachers and staff at ALC, where I hope to increase academic achievement with all the students. I am a first generation college grad. I attended UC Santa Barbara after I graduated from an LAUSD school. I am super excited to be joining this COSA that has given me a very warm welcome. Thank you so much, parents, for being here today. We really do look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez, for your dedication and your willingness to lead during these changing times. We really appreciate your work and look forward to the amazing things that happen at the Academic Community Leadership School. Next, I would like to introduce MacArthur Park's newest instructional team member, who will serve as the A through G advisor supporting classroom instruction in our schools. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Victoria C. Rodriguez, who will introduce herself and transition into our brief presentation on financial aid and free money for college. Ms. Rodriguez, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for welcoming me onto the team and to the MacArthur Park Communities of Schools. I've been part of LUSD for about 16 years. Most recently, I was at Stampede Education Complex, just on the other side of downtown. I've been an English teacher in the classroom. I was an academic counselor and a college counselor. So I come with a wealth of knowledge of instruction and preparing our students for college. Some of the universities that I've attended, I graduated from UCLA right after, I went straight after high school. So a traditional college experience. We know that it looks different for a lot of our students. I also attended Cal State Long Beach, where I earned my master's in school counseling and my credential for counseling. And most recently, I attended Cal State LA to do my administrative program. So I'm very excited to be part of the MacArthur Park Communities of Schools, and I look forward to working with all of our families. I want to start by today discussing some financial aid information and also some things that we can get all of our students to think about, starting with kindergarten. So go ahead and go to the next slide, Ms. Ferris, please. Thank you. So we hope to present this information, get the information out to our different schools, our elementary, middle school, and high school. We always want to talk to our students about college. So as you can see, I've kind of broken down, starting with kinder through 5th grade. What are some things that we can ask our young students in preparation for college? And the biggest thing is career, right? Starting to ask them those questions. What do you think you want to do when you grow up? And when I have my students asking questions, the first thing I tell them is, you know what, let's go Google it. So I really encourage you, if you have a K through 5 student, to just have a conversation with them. Let's Google what it means to be a principal. Let's Google what it means to be a doctor, and just kind of start getting them to think about different careers and what it might entail. For our 6th through 8th grade students, yes, we want them to kind of have an idea of what career they want to pursue in the future, but we also want them to start looking at colleges. So what's the college you heard of most recently? Let's Google it. Let's learn some basic information about that college and continue to have these conversations with them throughout the year. Once we get into high school, we get a little bit more specific because that transition point from high school to college becomes more real for our students. So with our 9th and 10th graders, we want to make sure that they start high school wanting to be participants in their school community, because we know that a well-rounded student is the best equipped for that transition to college. So we want to start getting them involved in sports, in clubs, in activities. And yes, we know that some of the activities our students can participate in are limited right now, but there are still things they can do to participate. So we want to have a conversation with our 9th and 10th graders about clubs, sports. For our 11th graders, never too late to join a club, right? We know that their high school experience has been interrupted, and that's okay. But what are some other clubs or activities you can participate in as 11th graders? What are you interested in? We also really want them to think about their grades, because their GPA for college is almost set. So we want to start looking forward to summer school if it's needed, and we want to make sure that they have a plan. For our 12th graders, it is a lot more concrete, and there are more steps that they have to take in preparation for that transition. So for them, if they've applied to college, we're following up with all of those steps and financial aid. Let's take a look at the next slide, Ms. Ferris. So for financial aid, and again, this information is for all of our families, because when it comes to college, my experience with families and students is that the first thing we're really worried about is money, right? How are we going to pay for it? How am I going to fund it? We want you to feel at ease with that, because there are different types of funding for colleges. A lot of it is based on GPA. So this is why grades are so important, right? Where we want our students to recognize that we want them to prove what they're learning in the classroom with those letter grades. And little brief introduction of financial aid. We hope to have another parent workshop in the coming months. There are 4 types of financial aid. There's grants, there's loans, scholarships, and work study, right? Grants and scholarships, that's the free money. That's the money our students are going to qualify for based on GPA, based on family income, based on family size. Loans, sometimes we need to make an investment in our education, just like investing in a car, right? It's something that's going to help us achieve our goals. So again, loans are scary, but when we advise students about investing in their education, we want to help them understand that there's always the free money, but sometimes depending on our circumstances, we might have to take out a loan to make an investment. And then work study. Again, we want to encourage our students to take advantage of all of the opportunities their campus is going to offer them once they're in college. And this is money that the schools are able to set aside to help the students secure a job on campus. Because the best place for a college student to work is on campus, because they're a student first. And the schools recognize that, and their employers on campuses recognize that. So they really help encourage them to, make sure your classes are handled. If you have to call in one day, or if something comes up and we need to adjust your work schedule, we can do that. And we know that a lot of our students coming from our community do have to work through school, and that's okay. We just want students and families to rest assured that there are financial resources for college. What we need to make sure that they do is that they are that well-rounded student that is proving what they learn in the classroom and that is participating in their community. Next slide, Ms. Fair. So I want to leave you with some reminders, especially for our senior parents. The financial aid application is due March 2nd for priority financial aid, meaning to make sure that your student secures money for next fall based on their GPA. They have to submit that application by March 2nd. I've been on the Miguel Contreras campus this past week, and so I was able to connect with some of the principals and counselors. So I know that the counselors have been working with your students, and I know the AVID students also, to make sure that they do these applications. Now we have to follow up with the next step. It's very easy to do the financial aid application, even if parents do not file taxes. That's okay. We know families have different situations. We just need students to come see their counselors, connect with whatever mentoring program that they're working with to make sure they do the application. The other thing we want to start thinking about right now is our students who have applied to four-year colleges. Those acceptances, those communications from the campuses are in their email right now. We need to make sure that our seniors are checking their email every day. So parents, if you have a senior, you need to make them log into that LAUSD email, make them log into that Gmail, and let's go through the notices you're getting. Let's see if there's any requests for additional information. And then those of our students who are community college bound, now is the time to do the research. Where do we want to go? What community college is going to be the easiest to access for us? And then we want to start following those application steps. The biggest thing, right, is make sure that if you are a senior parent, you are connecting with your counselor on your campus. Again, I'm very excited about being part of the MacArthur Park Communities of Schools and working with all of the amazing counselors and administrators at the site. So we look forward to having some financial aid workshops and some next steps to college workshops in the coming months. If you have any questions or concerns about your students' plans, please connect with their counselor as soon as you can. And thank you very much, everyone.
Just amazing. Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez, for sharing the information with our families. I know that they are very appreciative, as well as our students. They understand the next steps, and that we don't ever want that to be a hindrance on any of our students pursuing a college career, whether it be the community college at Cal State or UC or private university. We don't want financial assistance to be a problem. So please seek out your counselors. You can call our office and we can provide support in that area. Thank you again. Next slide. As you know, safety continues to be the district's top priority during this time. We continue to work closely with public health departments at the county and state level, and will continue to adjust our testing frequency and requirements as needed as a way to help keep our students and staff as safe as possible. We continue to look at the trends and the data closely as things are changing every day. Please know the district continues to be committed to ensuring student safety, and I would like to provide information on how we are continuing to provide a safe learning environment for our students. Next slide. So as we continue to move forward, school is back in. There will be weekly testing at all of our schools for students and employees, regardless of vaccination status. So testing teams will come to schools and they will test students on campus. If a student or employee is positive of COVID, they must isolate for at least 5 days. If no symptoms on the 5th day, they may take an antigen test to be cleared to return to school on the 6th day. So that's very important. All students, whether you're vaccinated or not, will isolate for 5 days and test to return to school on the 6th day if there are no symptoms. If there continues to be symptoms, then those days may be extended. As well as if the student continues to test positive, the duration will continue to remain at the 10 days. So keep that in mind. Masking are required at all times on campuses, indoors or outdoors. It's strongly recommended that we have a mask that fits. The schools will provide a mask for students and staff. Those non-cloth masks with the wiring will be provided at the school site. Please know that students may wear the mask on top of the surgical mask as well as staff members, but we really highly encourage everyone to wear the surgical mask with the wiring over the nose to make sure it's fitting, well-fitting, and we're keeping everyone safe. Vaccinations remain a key element in reducing the impact of COVID-19 on individuals in the community. And we will be required for students 12 and older in fall of 2022. So all students by fall are to be vaccinated. But keep in mind that LA Unified provides an opportunity for students 5 and older to be vaccinated as well. And we do have the link there for you. Next slide. This diagram outlines specific protocols that school teams and families are to follow to determine when to isolate as it relates to COVID-like symptoms, testing positive, and testing negative. All positive cases are to quarantine or isolate for 5 days. Those who live in the same home are also with someone who tests positive and not vaccinated. If the sibling is not vaccinated and someone in their home tests positive, they will be required to quarantine at home. So keep that in mind, okay? Next slide. So this diagram as well shows our quarantine recommendations and it spells it out, gives you a clear diagram. What does it mean to be a close contact, right? What does it mean to be on test to stay on campus? That means that you test negative and the school will continue to monitor you as well as your families will monitor you to see, and then you'll test on the 5th day to make sure you remain negative tested, right? And then those who are in close contact and will be quarantined at home and isolated at home as siblings or someone in their household has tested positive. Next slide. Again, LA Unified continues to be committed to providing vaccinations for all students 5 and older. 12 and up will be required to have vaccinations before fall of 2022. And so you can visit our website here to find out where's the closest vaccination site nearest you, and also check our daily pass to schedule an appointment. Next slide. And this reiterates the fact that vaccinations are available for all students 5 or older. Next slide. Now, at this time, I'm going to invite Mr. An to join us to go over our instructional updates where he will share our innovation grants with you. Mr. Han, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Next slide, please. MacArthur Park was provided an opportunity to write 5 grants to support students with acceleration of learning, student wellness, support for specialized populations, and health and safety. The first grant is Pathway to Proficiency and Beyond, and the objective of this grant is to align teaching to high-impact standards and state-provided resources. Second grant is Warren Demander Pedagogy. We want to change the current pedagogy to foster a welcoming and warm environment for all our students and visitors and parents. The third grant is Secondary Primary Promise. We want to support our English learners by teaching them the foundational skills so that they could do well in their other classes as well. And our next grant is Cross-Age Tutoring. The objective of this grant is to provide mentor and mentee support to build self-efficacy, grit, and confidence. Last, Center for Love and Justice will work with Lazy students to develop projects aligned with social activism. Now, we will look at a quick video of a teacher voice stating her experience from our first part of Pathway to Proficiency and Beyond grant. Next, please play the video.
Okay, hi, I'm Trisha Casasola. I'm a sixth grade English teacher at John Lakey Middle School, and I just completed my first session of Pathway to Proficiency on Saturday. I was pleasantly surprised. I am looking forward to really looking into the IAB and the tools for teachers. I've used some of the tools for teachers before. For some teaching that went in between IAB for kind of a pre-test, I think, and the same IAB at the end. But I think I'm going to learn a lot from the teachers that are in the sessions with us. They're doing some really cool things, like the way that they use the IABs for non-standardized type of lessons in our classroom. So anyway, and also, yeah, just finally I'm learning something brand new, which is really great. I appreciate it.
Once again, thank you, Lathy. Thank you, Ms. Casola, for the video. Now, I would like to introduce our school mental health consultant, Ms. Casella Gutierrez. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Tim. As we continue facing this ongoing pandemic, stress and anxiety is something that has become more and more present in our lives. The priority is to be physically healthy, and a good way to be able to maintain our physical health is by being able to address our mental health and our emotional well-being. Next slide. So I'd like to go ahead and start defining the difference between stress and anxiety. There's a fine line between stress and anxiety. Both are emotional responses, but stress is typically caused by an external trigger. The trigger can be short-term, such as a work deadline, getting to work on time, or a fight with a loved one, or it can be long-term, such as being unable to work or dealing with a chronic illness. People under stress experience mental and physical symptoms, such as irritability, anger, fatigue, muscle pain, digestive troubles, and difficulty sleeping. Anxiety, on the other hand, is defined by persistent, excessive worries that become chronic and won't go away even in the absence of a stressor. This starts having an impact on how you relate to others, on what you choose to do or not to do. It may also be irrational or unrealistic, where it begins impacting your thought process and you always think of the worst case scenario. Next slide. These are symptoms that we commonly see in children that are experiencing anxiety, and some of these symptoms may also be experienced by adults. When we experience chronic or ongoing stress, it can contribute to mental health and emotional issues, including feeling depressed or irritable, such as anxiety as well. Feelings of overwhelm and even negative or pessimistic thinking can also start where our students or even adults an excessive amount of worries. And the fears that we experience which can be normal from time to time, start becoming more and more persistent and start being something that we experience on a daily basis. Additionally, ongoing chronic stress can play a major role in developing anxiety. A frame of reference or a different perspective that I would like for you to take a look at when thinking of anxiety is that it's important to remember that anxiety will never completely go away. It is a normal emotion that every human being feels. We feel anxiety when we're running late to work. We feel anxiety when we're going to maybe present in front of a big crowd. We may feel anxiety about a very important test coming up. Anxiety can be helpful at times as it allows us to meet certain demands that life brings. When you experience stress, anxiety tricks you into using methods that maintain your symptoms. And so, since anxiety can be a normal part of life, it is very important that we also understand how to be able to reduce symptoms of stress and anxiety in order to better manage it. Next slide. This is a summary of 16 ways to help reduce COVID-19 related anxiety. Recognizing what is and is not in our control is one of the biggest things that you can work on. A lot may be out of our control right now, but fortunately, we do have control over some things such as limiting news exposure and taking steps to reduce your risk and increase your comfort in taking care of yourselves. Focusing on what we do have control over and focusing less on the things we can't is an empowering and healthy act, especially during a time of collective crisis. Utilizing self-care strategies such as relaxing your body, meditation, taking deep breaths, exercising, maintaining a healthy diet, or engaging in any activities that may work for you and that can release serotonin and relax the stress hormones in our brain can also be of great benefit. Focusing on the good things and opportunities that life presents to you. Our brain was built to focus on all the wrong and negative things. It takes intention and practice to find the positive and remain optimistic. For example, I work among so many schools, and I can feel anxiety of thinking I can be exposed to COVID all the time on a daily basis. But instead, I always think that we are in a school district with the resources and the safety protocols necessary to help me keep safe and healthy while at work. Practicing gratitude and identifying what you are thankful for on an everyday basis can be very beneficial for you to remain optimistic. And last but not least, reflect on your reactions. Understanding what you feel can help you consider how you respond. Remember that as adults, we can be the best guides for how our students and children will do. They are watching and listening to us. So when we take care of ourselves, we are modeling how they can take care of themselves in these trying times. And last but not least, I am sharing here this flyer of our family wellness hotline available for all of you Monday through Friday from 8 to 5, where you are able to get connected to mental health services and or any other resources that you may need for your family. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gutierrez. I really appreciate the information shared. As you know, it's really good to really take a moment to reflect on how you're feeling, and invalidate your feelings. And it's really important to self-care and take action, right? What are our next steps? And with that, I have some important information with some updates. For more information regarding workshops, next slide, please. So we have partnered, the MacArthur Park Communities of Schools have partnered with GRATS, as well as the County of Los Angeles, with providing mental health workshops. So partnered with the County Department of Mental Health to provide a series of workshops. Actually, the first workshop was today from 10 to 12. However, no worries, no need to worry. These will be posted on our social media as well as our website. So you'll have all the dates of all of our upcoming workshops throughout the rest of the month. So just make sure that you look out for that on our website as well as our Instagram and Facebook pages. Next slide. Also, this is a time for spring enrichment. It's time to enroll now, as classes will begin in February, but this is a time for all of our students and our families to take opportunity of arts, visual arts, dancing arts, world language, STEM, animation, and much more, robotics. So these are opportunities for our families to register for spring enrichment programs as well. Please register soon as slots may become unavailable. Thank you. Next slide. At this time, we're going to open it up for whatever questions might you have. I do have a committed team here to support our questions, from special education to COVID to operations to we're here to support the MacArthur Parks communities of schools. What questions might you have? I don't see any questions in the chat there. Questions. I don't see any questions. I'm going to there is a question and answer icon on the bottom of your screen. If you could type your questions there, we will respond to your questions. And but in the meantime, I'm going to have Mr. Tony Cortez join us, who's our operations coordinator, to share any additional information that I did not cover during our COVID presentation that he may want to enlighten us. Mr. Cortez, the floor is yours.
Good evening, parents and family members, and thank you for trusting us and making us accountable for holding and making sure that your children are safe. We have reopened our schools, and as we visit schools and visit our staff, it is delightful and promising to see our students come back to school. One thing that I want to share with everyone is that we change what we do based on the science and recommendations from the Los Angeles County Health Department, our state department, and our federal department. So we are basing all of our decisions on science. And because we do that, things change quite quickly. So we may share something today, and in 4 or 5 days, things have changed a little from the past. So thank you for trusting us. Thank you for sending your children to school. And when you're in doubt, and if your children or you feel sick, you can call for advice to our school, to our hotlines, to make sure that we are providing you with the most updated information. Remember, if you're a family member that's sick at home, you want to make sure you're not bringing or continuing the spread to campus. So make sure you let us know. With that said, I think that's all I have to share, Dr. Smith. But once again, thank you very much for the opportunity and for trusting us to keep your children safe.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez. Thank you for being with us again. I'm looking to see, are there any questions in the Q&A? Don't see any questions there. Thank you. It sounds like, actually, I think I'm going to allow one of our families to speak. I think they have a question they would like to say out loud. So I'm going to allow them to speak. Ms. Lopez, you're muted.
Sí, aló. ¿Aló?
Yes.
Soy mamá de Alan. El 6 de enero le fui a hacer el testing del COVID, salió positivo, me entregaron el resultado el 12 y ahorita nomás está en la casa, pero no tiene síntomas, no tiene nada, no sé cuánto tiempo tiene que estar en la casa o ya lo puedo llevar en la escuela, no sé.
Muy bien, gracias por su pregunta, señora. The question is, my child tested positive on January 6th. Is it time for me to return my child to school? And the answer is absolutely yes. 10 days have gone by. Your child is, as long as and she's indicated he's not symptomatic, his quarantine time or isolation time.
Pero
Le voy a decir en español en un
pero
segundo.
no se abra su pase para entrar en la escuela. ¿Qué tengo que hacer con eso? Ya lo traté ahora en la mañana, no se abra y por eso no lo llevé.
Ok. Señora, si me puede mandar su información en un mensaje privado en el chat, yo le puedo llamar, ¿ok? So,
Ok, sí.
yeah, 10 days of quarantine is really the longest we do unless there's something special going on. There are cases where children, staff, or adults become ill past 10 days, but most of the time, our science has proven that after 10 days, people who tested positive are no longer contagious.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez, for your question. Thank you, Mr. Cortez, for answering and responding to that question. I'm just going to ask, I know that there's a couple more questions. I'm just going to ask that for the sake of the town hall meeting, if you not refrain from speaking the name of your particular child, that would be helpful. We just need general information, okay? That will be helpful in answering and responding to the question. I have two more questions. Juanita, the floor is yours. You may ask your question.
Sí, una pregunta. Si un niño da positivo, el niño le hicieron 2 pruebas. En una la primera salió negativo, en la segunda salió positivo. ¿Cuál es el test al que uno tiene que estar más seguro?
Thank you for your question. The question is, if my child took 2 tests, on one test he was positive, and on the second he was negative, which one do I listen to? And señora, el más importante es el que llamamos el PCR, no el rápido, el PCR es más correcto o mejor examen para probar contra el COVID. So the one that we want to really focus on or hone in on is the PCR test. If your child tested positive with the PCR, there are some conditions that maybe he or she was infected over break and is now testing positive. So it's important that you share that information with your school administrator so that they can work with the community engagement team and make the best decision as to when your isolation period will end. Thank you, señora.
And thank you again, Mr. Cortez. That concludes I have one more question from the field. Ms. Araguin.
Do we have one more question with?
Oh, no, I apologize. I
That's
saw your
okay.
hand up. Thank you. So that concludes our questions this evening. Thank you, team, for being with us. Thank you to all of our families, all of our staff members, our administrators, for just doing an awesome job, for being there for our community. Please know that you warmed my heart last week. I thought about you all weekend. I just was like, every time I thought about it, it made me smile. Just to know that you gave it your all and you were doing it for the right reason because you care. And you are leaders of your school communities for a reason. So know that we are in this with you. We're in this together, and this too shall pass, right? And please reach out. Feel free to reach out to my office, our offices, our school offices, if there's anything that we can do to support you as we continue to move forward, creating the best educational experience for our students that's possible. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you again for joining us. That concludes our town hall meeting for tonight. See you in February. Our next slide. Our next town hall meeting will take place. This is our contact information here. Visit us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Also visit our website. Next slide. Join us for our next town hall meeting on February 15th, 2022 at 5 p.m. And here is the contact number for each of our team members at the MacArthur Park Community Schools. You can find our emails, our titles there. Remember, thank you for joining us again. Remember that this is an opportunity for you to engage and ask questions, and know that Dr. Smith loves you and there's nothing you could do about it. Have a wonderful evening. See you soon.